Fraser Allport. I'm a registered investment advisor. I'm here this morning at Indian River County Sheriff's Office to talk to the police about getting smart with their money, about getting better, getting ahead, and getting money stress out of your life. That's really what this is all about in many ways. Sheriff Lohr invited me because he doesn't want money stress in your life. He wants you to get better and get ahead and succeed, and so do I. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about getting you smart with your money. There's a difference between making money, which everybody does all day long, and managing it. Most people kind of go through their day with one hand, making money, and have a tendency to kind of throw it over their shoulder and not manage it. If you ask the average person what they own, they don't know. They can't tell you. And if you think about it, after you've already earned $1, it's actually much easier to manage $1 than to try and make a new dollar. So today we're going to get you smart with your money so you'll have more of it. It's not about greed. Again, it's about having more money as a quality of life. There's few things greater than money stress. Money stress is the cause of most divorces in this country and the cause of most arguments in a household. So this whole course, when I talk to Sheriff Lohr, is because both of us want to get money stress out of your life, and there's no greater peace of mind than knowing where your money is. A lot of times when people don't feel in control, and you know this as law enforcement, when you don't feel in control of a situation, it's very stressful. But when you know where your money is and where it's going and how it's performing, you're going to get money stress out of your life. So let me just take a moment and tell you about myself. When I spoke with Sergeant Luther, he said, you know, when you walk in, he said to me, your credibility is about as thick as this piece of paper. So let me tell you just a little bit about myself in about a minute, just so you know who's speaking to you today. I'm 56 years old. I spent 33 years in this business. 33 years out of 56, I've spent about 3/4 of my life doing this business. I have always worked for myself. Been self-employed since the day I left college. If you look at my card, the only name on my card is mine. I don't work for a big company or a big bank or a trust company or a brokerage house. I work for me and I work for you. I'm an independent. And the reason this course is so important to me is I want to skip ahead to page, if you do in your book, let me just go back for a second. Okay. The first 18 pages are all about the stress that happens in the workplace from worrying about your money. When you get a chance, you can just take a peek at it because it really brings it home that money stress is just always kind of playing in the back of your mind. You're worried about your credit card debt or your mortgage or somebody's hounding you on a bill. So again, this course is about getting money stress out of your life. So the first 18 pages I'm going to skip through because you can read those at your leisure, okay? All right. Let's start here on page 19. The reason I'm doing this course for police and firefighters is that it's my way of helping to save the American middle class. And I mean that sincerely. The American middle class is going out of business, and that's us. I mean, I'm just a guy. I don't have my $3,000 suit and my Mercedes and my cufflinks and my Rolex. I'm just like you. I'm a guy. I'm just a middle class person. But the American middle class is shrinking. Do you know that the average wage in this country for the middle class has been declining since 1972? And you folks know that, right? No wage hikes. So how do you fight back? How do you literally protect yourself and your way of life? Get smart with your money, or else they're going to take it from you. The people above us, everywhere you go in this country, it seems to me that somebody is trying to pick your pocket. But I'm going to show you today how to get smart with your money so you don't get bamboozled or fooled or ripped off. And people will know as soon as they talk to you, you're an educated consumer. Be educated about your money. So I worry about the American middle class. Do you know there are 20% fewer people in the American middle class today than in 2009. And you know where they've gone? They didn't go this way. They went that way. So I really am serious, is that one of the reasons I do my radio show is I worry about the death of the American middle class. If there's no American middle class, there's no America. I'm a history major, and if you don't have a middle class, you've got big problems. You have 1% up here and 99% down there, and that always ends badly. So I try and start with the big picture. This is literally about protecting your way of life and your children too. The smarter you are with your money, you'll never get bamboozled or ripped off. Okay, I also wanted to talk about, you know that old phrase, it's not what you make, it's what you keep? Okay, I brought a little prop here. I have 4 quarters. The average American in the middle class pays about 25 cents of every dollar in taxes. So every time you make $1, you've really got 75 cents. Now in tax talk, the money you pay in taxes is called a soft dollar. It was never yours. You earned $1, but not really. 25 cents in this example is out the door to the U.S. Treasury. What I want to do today is focus on this 75 cents. It's going somewhere in your life. Every penny of these 75 cents, somewhere in your life, you're spending or you're saving. And if you can literally track every penny, if you can kind of wring out your money and squeeze it like a chamois, you're going to get every penny out of your hard-earned dollar. So a large part of today isn't really just about investing. It's about getting every expense in your life, every bill, every penny under control and tracking it. Again, what will happen? One of two things. Somebody tracks their 75 cents. You're not only going to have more money and more peace of mind because you're in control, but you could potentially work less. If you know where your money's going and you decrease your expenses and you run your finances like a Swiss watch, you can actually work less. The reason a lot of Americans are working hard and running hard to stay in place is they're making this 75 cents, and like I said, they're not managing it. So we're going to track today every penny in your life. I'm Scottish, we're frugal, every penny counts. Lastly, I wanted to talk about compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world. Let's say that we reduce one of your bills. Again, it's not just investing today. It's about that whole 75 cents where it goes. Let's say that we reduce one of your bills, or we accelerate your mortgage and get the payment down. So let's say you save $1, a lower insurance bill, lower homeowner bill, lower auto insurance, and you got your auto insurance down and you saved $1. Well, you're young. You didn't save $1. You saved $1 compounded the rest of your life. And so if you think about it, at your young age, if you took $1 that you're not paying to auto insurance every year, you save $100 on your auto insurance annually. What are you going to do with that $100? Let's assume it's found money. You were spending it before and now you're not. Your bill went from $1,000 a year to $900. And you take that $100 and you put it in deferred comp or an IRA, or you prepay your mortgage. Well, that $100 at any kind of interest rate, even 2 or 3% times the rest of your life, it's not $100. It's really big money. And if you want to have some fun with money, people think it's hard, but it really isn't. You just have to work with somebody you like and trust and kind of just get into it. It's not intimidating. The hardest part is what you did today. You showed up. There's 2 websites, interest.com calculators and interestcalc.org. And I picked those because they're super simple. You can go there and you can simply put in your numbers, 2 or 3 places. I'm paying this on my mortgage, and and boom. And it will show you what compound interest can do for you. If you save $1 and invest it, or if you can get your debt down faster. Do both of you carry any debt? Any debt at all?
I have a house.
You have a mortgage? And you, Amy? You have no debt? That's great. That's great. It's one of the great stressors for Americans is carrying debt. Okay. And again, please just jump in with questions. All right. I'm going to walk you through 10 modules today. Now, every single one of these modules either affects you directly or someone you know. So speak up, ask questions, take notes. What I want you to do first and foremost is just take a moment and read that, please, and then I'll discuss it. Okay, got to put my glasses on. Nothing happens without these. At this, you'll see. You'll see. When I work with a client, the first place I start is you've got to get your money into a system. It is impossible to manage something unless you can measure it. And you know this. You're in law enforcement. Your whole career is built on systems, process, protocols, procedures, right? There's things you do that you know if you follow a certain procedure, you're going to get a certain outcome. One of the reasons most Americans are super stressed about their money is that they're not in control of it. And they're not in control of it because they don't track it. There are people I meet who don't even know what's coming in. They don't know their own paycheck. And if you don't know what's going out, what you'll find is that the average American has literally, and I see this all the time, about $200 to $300 somewhere in their budget that's just kind of trickling through their fingers. So the first thing I would say to anybody is we're going to get your money in a system. And I don't want to use budget in the sense of scrimp and sacrifice and do without. It's exactly the opposite. If you get your money in a system, I guarantee you're going to find all of a sudden like, holy smokes, I thought I was paycheck to paycheck, but here's an extra $150. And you find out where it's going, you nail it down, and then maybe you start to prepay your mortgage and get a 30-year mortgage paid down in 10 or 15 years. So again, we're talking about tracking every penny in your life. Now what I did is I put together a list of free software. Now every single one of these online links is free software. You could even download an app to your phone for some kind of a money system. People say to me, which one's the best? You pick, you choose. If you breeze through these, take you less than an hour some night to go through them, you're going to find one that you say, oh, I like that one. It'll just strike you the right way. You'll pick one, you'll pick a different one. Whatever you do, pick one. And the last link has about 5 more included in it. But they're free. You can put them on your phone. And job one is get your money in a system. And once you do, you're going to start to feel in control, and you're going to realize where your money's going. It's kind of like a farmer. If you ask a farmer, that farmer knows how many cows he or she has. And when they're all out in the field, I don't know, but I know how many are supposed to be in the barn every night. I can't stress enough. When somebody sits down with me and they say, where do I start? Get your money in a system. Now, if you have any questions on any of these apps, you call me. I can walk you through them. I can get you started. Remember when you were first riding a bike? You got on the bike and it was kind of wobbly and your parent was running beside it. That's my role, is to help you get started. And then once you get going, you're like, hey, this is easy. This is not hard at all. And you can actually have some fun with it. Because again, I keep stressing, you feel in control of your money. Okay. Time is money. And again, I just want you to take a moment. I want to make sure that I give you a chance to digest each page, what we're talking about. All right, we're talking about time and money management going hand in hand. It's that old phrase, time is money. It is. I'm 56. The longer I walk this earth, the more I realize your most valuable commodity is time. You can come home at the end of a day and say it was super busy and it was crazy and chaotic. What did I get done? Being busy and being effective are two different things. If you want to be effective, manage your money, manage your time, left hand, right hand. And again, there's a great book here. If you like to read, and these are books that you could either knock out in a weekend or you could leave it in your back pocket or by your bedside and just read 2 or 3 pages a night anywhere. It's one of those kind of easy reads. There's a book out there, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki. And again, if you just did a little bit each day, learning and growing, you'll get there. This is really all about lifetime learning. Okay. There's free online software for time management. Again, these are links, all free. You can download the apps to your phone. Anything that gets your life organized and in a system is the starting point. It puts you in control. It's literally getting you in the driver's seat. Your money isn't just out there, you're in control of it, you're managing it, including your time. Okay. And again, if you have any questions on these apps, you can call me. Sometimes the easiest way to learn something is just pick up the phone, you can call me. It doesn't have to be a long 2-hour course. You could just pick up the phone one day and say, I had a question about this or what about that? And in 5 or 10 minutes, I'll answer your question and you'll say, okay, that was great, thank you. And that's one of the best ways to learn is kind of like a little small bite. So don't hesitate to call me anytime. I've been here 33 years. I will be here when you need me. All right. I wanted to go through pre-tax investing, pre-tax savings. In particular, your 457 deferred compensation plan. Okay. I want to play a little game here again with these 4 quarters. Let's assume, for the sake of simple math, that you're in a 50% tax bracket, okay? Highest federal tax bracket's 40% today. Lowest is about 15%. Most of us are probably right in the middle at about 25%. But just for the sake of simple math, let's assume your tax bracket is 50%. So you make $1, right? And right off the bat, you have to give away 50 cents of soft dollar to the U.S. Treasury, the Internal Revenue Service. And what do you get back on that money? You get a canceled check, right? And the other 50 cents is yours, right? So here's how it works. You earn $1, you pay 50 cents to the Internal Revenue Service, the soft dollar of tax money, and you get to keep 50 cents of hard dollar. And if that's all you do, they go out that door, and your rate of return is going to be a canceled check, and you head out that door with your 50 cents after tax money, and you can spend it any way you like. You could invest it, you could take a vacation, a trip, whatever you want to do with it. It's your money. But the Internal Revenue Service in the code has a 457 plan. It's actually an IRS code section. If you wonder how they got the name 457, if you look in the IRS code, it says section 457. And it discusses a deferred compensation plan. Okay. So the IRS says, Amy, before you leave the room and spend that 50 cents, and we take your 50 cents of taxes and cash the check, we'll come back and we'll take 50 cents of tax money and we'll marry it with your 50 cents, and you have $1 in a deferred comp. They'll literally meet you in the middle. If you put your 50 cents in the game, your skin in the game, they'll bring that 50 cents back and they'll match you. And they'll say, together we could invest in a 457 plan and we'd have 4 quarters. With me? Okay. So stop and think. If you had 50 cents that you were about to take home and spend on anything, even prepaying your mortgage, and then the IRS came back and said, if you do a 457 with your 50 cents, we'll match you with the 50 cents of tax money. If you make 50 cents on 50 cents, what is that as a rate of return, please? That's 100%. You just made 100% on your money by doing pre-tax investing in your 457. Now, do you both do the 457 plan? All right. Then right off the bat, just by doing it, you made 100% on your money. That's why I also tell people, I'm not a big fan. I'm a safe money guy. It's so hard to make a dollar, pay the tax, invest, save, have it grow, and then one day they open up a trap door in the stock markets, and before you know it, you lost half your money. If you've already made 100% just by doing the 457, again, your 50 cents, their 50 cents, you don't need to take a lot of risk. You've already made most of your money just by recapturing this 50 cents. This is your pension, essentially. It's your own personal private pension. So I see people take big risks with their deferred comp, and I'm like, no, that's going to be nest egg money. If you want to take risk, do it elsewhere. It's what's called the financial pyramid. I don't know if you've ever seen it. The bottom slab is supposed to be your safest assets, usually your home, the bedrock assets. And then each slab, as you go up, gets riskier. And finally, at the top of the pyramid, you're playing the gold stocks, something speculative and crazy. And if you lose that money, you're not happy, but you're not wiped out. But down here at the bottom of the pyramid, the slabs, the foundation, are supposed to be the safe stuff, and that's your deferred comp. There are some people who got their clock cleaned back in 08, 09. In 6 months, they cut the markets in half. Before you even knew what was happening, you lost half your money. And think about it. Amy, I'm going to pick on you again. If you had $1 in your deferred comp, and the market took a hit, and you went to 50 cents, so now your dollar is 50 cents, on paper at least. How much do you have to make on that 50 cents to get back to $1? Got to make 50 cents on 50 cents. You got to make 100% to break even. It's like getting on a roller coaster. You get on, you take this wild ride, and you get off in the same place, but you paid for it. I'm a big believer that in deferred compensation plans, that's your safe money. That's your rock solid money. If you want to go gamble in the markets, do it with other money, not your pension money. Because this is money that you're going to count on when you come out. Imagine the poor person who was retiring in 2009 when the market was down 50%. What do? Just when you need the money the most, it's down here. I know people who are today, in 2015, breaking even from that decline. So again, if you bear in mind that you made most of your money on the tax savings, go buy something safe and let the power of compounding work for you and watch what happens. You've got time. You're both young. Okay. Questions? All right. Healthcare. Oh, it's not even healthcare anymore. It's money care. Excuse my French, but I call it hell care. It's just a brutal, brutal system out there. I've been licensed in health insurance for 30 plus years, and I've never seen the system so broken, so inefficient. Now, you have Blue Cross through your employer, right? Okay. So the premium is taken care of by your employer. I'm going to talk about something different today, which is using your policy. People say, oh, I have my health insurance policy. They don't know the deductibles, the co-pays, the co-insurance, your rights, your responsibilities. I'll tell you this as a doctor's son, and I was raised in a time when medicine was very different. Doctors were different. It really is today all about money. And if you recognize that going in, here's the golden rule. Either because someone is doing it intentionally, an error of commission, they're doing it intentionally to you, or somebody's incompetent because the system is so confusing these days. You've got the new plans, the Obamacare plans, you got a lot of the old plans. Everyone's converting to new software. The system today is really just a big ball of string. So you could be some poor person at the hospital in billing, and you've got a software system that you're learning that's new for the Obamacare plans. You've got an old software system for the old plans. You got rules and regulations changing every day. Each company usually has 10 or 20 different plans. It's really easy to make mistakes. That's why most of the bills you get from a hospital, I tell my clients, don't pay that yet. It's probably wrong. But here's my point. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, if you are not an educated consumer, you are going to overpay everywhere you turn. So let me give you a small example. You know, Ryan, would you do me a favor and get me a glass of water, please? Do you mind? Thank you. You know, you get your free annual wellness, right? It's part of your, okay. So let me give you a few tips as to how to use your policy so that you don't overpay, you're always again paying the least. So you walk into the doctor's office, you've booked your free annual wellness. And I tell my clients, and I can't tell you how many times this has happened, truth. I say, you're going to go book your free annual wellness. Thank you. Thank you. And I tell my clients, you're going to walk into the doctor's office. This is federal law. If you look in your policy, it says your copay is 0. Free means free. You're going to walk into the doctor's office. Hi, I'm here for my free annual wellness. And they're going to say to you, that'll be $20, please. No. Free is free. Most people would do what? Oh, okay. You probably would, right? Oh, the doctor's office says it's a $20 copay. No, it's free. And I'll tell my clients, you call me right on the spot. And I've had clients call me literally saying, yeah, you're right. I'm here at the doctor's office. I'm here at the front desk, and they're trying to charge me for my free annual wellness. And I'll say, put the nurse on. And very politely, I'll explain federal law to them. And then you know what they always say? And I can't say how many times this has happened, probably like a dozen times. They say, oh, that free wellness exam. Oh, yeah. They were trying to clip you $20. Just knowing that you probably didn't know your rights. So here's what I'm going to urge you to do. If you call up Blue Cross, and by the way, I'm an independent agent, so I'm licensed with Blue Cross. You can spend your day on the phone with an insurance company going from one department to the next department to, oh, no, hang on, you want, okay. I know you have representatives who work with you, but if you can't reach them or they're sick or out of town or they don't call you back, you call me on your health insurance. What takes you 4 hours on the phone with some company, I can get done in 10 minutes, okay? You call Blue Cross at your convenience. On the back of your card is an 800 number. That's 1-800-FLA-BLUE. Get on the phone one day and ask them to email you, and they'll do it in 2 minutes, what's called a summary of benefits. And your summary of benefits is your contract condensed to about 2 or 3 pages. And it literally is a little PDF. It'll come to you in an Adobe file. And all of a sudden in your email, there's an attachment. It says summary of benefits. And what that summary of benefits will do is in a very short menu, it'll list, if you do this, you pay that. If I go to the hospital, I'm supposed to pay this. If I go get an x-ray, I'm supposed to pay that. And it's a really short condensation of what's actually a very thick contract. All the lawyer speak is out of it. It's just a very simple, if I go here, I pay that. Load that onto every mobile device you carry. And here's why. So it's on your phone one day. You're going to go somewhere, someday, I guarantee you. Call me when this happens to you and say, yep. Hospital, emergency room, doctor's office, a lot of times the pharmacy. So you go to the pharmacy, it's 3 in the morning on a Sunday, you're sick as a dog, you got the doctor to write you a prescription, you go to the pharmacy, and they tell you that'll be $712 for the medicine. You're like, no, that can't be. And they say, well, we're looking at your plan, and it doesn't cover prescription medicines. And you say, well, yeah, it does. I know my plan covers prescription medicines. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it does. No. You're going to lose that argument with the pharmacist. and you're either going to have to spend the money to get your drugs, and then good luck trying to get it back. You'll get it back. It'll just take you months and time to do it. Or you got to leave the pharmacy and you don't have your medicine. But if you have your phone with you and you say, hang on, please, and you pull up your summary of benefits, right there is an icon, and you say to the pharmacist, yeah, I am covered. Then it's on them, and they look at your summary of benefits and say, oh. Now, were they doing it intentionally? Is it a mistake? It's half and half, I think. Sometimes it's just incompetence, because it's such a confusing system now, and sometimes it's intentional. I'll give you another tip on healthcare. Never leave a doctor's office just putting that prescription in your pocket. Again, somebody will say, thank you, doc. Okay? Ask the doctor, first of all, doctor, is this a brand drug or a generic? You know the difference? The generic will cost you $10. The brand drug will cost you... Okay. Why would the doctor write you a brand drug versus a generic? There's an unholy alliance between the doctors and the drug industry. There's a lot of good doctors out there, but these folks are caught in a very difficult system. They're not really in control anymore. The insurance companies are. And so sometimes the doctor is squeezed into writing you a drug that is not in your best interest. Ask this doctor, is this a generic drug? And if it's not a generic drug, why not? Almost every drug out there has a generic, unless that drug is literally brand spanking new and it's the only thing out there. You want a substitute. You don't want a brand drug. I'll give you a small example. I had a client, just simple psoriasis. Went to the doctor, got a tube of cream, little tiny tube of cream. Went to the drugstore, didn't ask, is this brand or generic? Went to the drugstore. Guess how much the tube of cream was? A little over $600. So client calls me up, wigging out. I said, give me the name on the tube. I happened to be at my desk. I said, hang on. Generic 4. Took me about a minute to say, go back and ask the doctor for the generic. And the generic cost what? $10 or $12. Last tip on a prescription. You'll see in the bottom corner sometimes, again, you're looking at the prescription, it'll say DNS, do not substitute. The doctor has boxed the pharmacist into writing only that drug. So even if it is a brand, you go to the pharmacist and you say, no, I don't want the $700 brand. Is there a generic? And the pharmacist says, yeah, there's a generic, but I can't give it to you. I can't substitute. The prescription said at the bottom corner, DNS, do not substitute. Again, you're getting boxed into the more expensive drug. Check the prescription, ask for generic, make sure it doesn't say DNS. Lastly, deductibles, copays, coinsurance. Let me just quickly run through the terms because these are kind of the levers of your policy. So let's have a little fun with health insurance, if there is such a thing. What's a deductible, please? Like your car insurance, what's a deductible on your policy?
What do you pay out before they do?
Exactly. It's what you pay before they pay. So do you know your deductible on your current policy, please?
I believe it's 400 individual and 800 family.
Okay, so let's say it's 400. So a deductible is what you pay before the insurance company pays. It's literally deducted from your coverage. Okay, so if you had a $1,000 hospital bill and you went to leave the emergency room that night and the bill was $1,000, what would you pay, please?
400.
The first 400 is you, right? Okay, so there's your deductible covered. Okay. Now the bill is what now? 600, right? As far as the insurance company is concerned. Okay. Coinsurance now kicks in. And coinsurance is where you start to share. What's your percentage? Probably 80-20, 90-10?
I believe it's 80-20.
Okay. So you have a $1,000 hospital bill, you're leaving the emergency room, They say it's $1,000. Your deductible's $400. You spend $400. The bill is now $600. 20% coinsurance is your share, right? So there's 2 times 600 is 120 more. So you leave the hospital that night and you've spent $400 deductible and 120 of coinsurance. Okay. Co-pays are where you're out somewhere and you're at the desk getting an x-ray, getting a doctor's visit, getting a mammogram, and they say that'll be $20. Those are co-pays. Good morning. How are you? Are you joining us?
I am, if you don't mind.
Oh, of course, come on in. Oh, you're welcome. Here, let me introduce myself briefly. Excuse me, ladies.
Actually, I'm gonna run to the restroom.
Fraser Allport, nice to meet you, ma'am. I was letting the ladies know that I'm just going to run, so you go to the ladies' room. That's right. Let me just give you this.
I've been trying to get here for 2 days.
Well, I'm glad you came.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I heard it was great.
Oh, that's good. Thank you, ma'am. That's me. My first name is Fraser.
Okay.
And we are on,
Page.
Kelly, which page are we on? We're on page 26.
Okay. I will catch up.
Let me do one last thing as a courtesy for you, ma'am. I wanted to get your first name so that with this big crowd,
Yes.
I lose track of all the names.
Right.
Would you give that to her, please?
Sure.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Take advantage of our stopping point.
That's good because I'll bring her up to speed. I'll catch her up a bit. What's your first name, please, ma'am?
Martha.
May I call you by your first name?
Absolutely.
Okay. The first 18 pages are really all about what money stress does to people, especially in the workplace, the tremendous toll it takes, how it saps productivity. Because you go to work that day, and of course you bring your money problems with you. Someone's chasing you on your mortgage. You're upside down on your mortgage, you're about to be foreclosed. They're calling you 8 times a day on your credit card bills. How could you possibly tune that out? The reason Sheriff Lohr wanted me to do this course was because he doesn't want money stress in your life. He wants you to get money stress out of your life, get smart with your money, get better, get ahead. I've done this business 33 years. I'm an independent. And so every single time we talk about anything here today, you call me with any questions anytime. Been here 33 years. I'll be here when you need me. Also, today is a dialogue. It's not a speech or a lecture, and it's a nice small group. So by all means, just raise your hand and speak up. But that's really for you, Martha, a workbook, an instruction manual. Keep it because in there are all sorts of links that you could go to on the internet and say, oh, that's perfect for me. Almost every single one of the 10 topics we're discussing today, everybody has that in their life. So let me go back, if you would, to page, I'll just bring you up to speed a bit.
I hate for you to have to.
No, it's perfect. They're taking a break. No, I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
What page am I going back?
If you go back to page 19, please.
Okay.
The first thing I was stressing is that I do a radio show, and the reason I started doing the show, I'm a history major, I'm 56 years old, and I'm watching the death of the American middle class. We're going out of business. We're literally being squeezed in the middle. We make too much money to get free stuff, right? But we don't make enough money to be up here in the clouds. We're stuck in the middle. It's a vice. I was talking about how wages, real wages for the average American middle class in this country peaked when, please? When do you think real wages on a chart peaked? 1972. 1972 was the peak of the American middle class. And if I showed you a wall chart of real wages, inflation adjusted, it's been this. You folks know that. You haven't had a wage hike in...
Well, fortunately, we did last year, first of many years.
Right, first in many years. So I'm doing this for Sheriff Lohr, because if you can get money stress out of your life, if you can track your money, you're going to have more of it. It'll take stress out of your life. You'll feel more in control. You'll actually get more leisure time. May I ask you why you came, please? Because today was voluntary. I'm just curious what brought you.
Actually, I missed what I was originally signed for, and I just wanted to catch up. I'm closer to retirement.
Okay.
That's it.
The very next page, just to have you literally catch up with us, and you can talk at the end if you have some questions. There's free software for tracking your money. The first thing I tell a client is get your money in a system. It's impossible to manage your money unless you have it in a system. So there's applications there that are free online with the links. It's number 1. Are you on number 1, please?
Yes.
Okay. You could go to any one of those links. The next page, Martha? See all those links? That's free software for money management. You could bounce around those links for an hour one night, find the best program for you that you really like, download it on your phone, and you've got the beginning of tracking your money. The next slide is about free software for tracking your time. And at the very end, I'll talk about a couple of slides that you missed very briefly. Okay, but for the moment, we were going through healthcare. We had just talked about deductibles, coinsurance, and copays. Copays are where you're at the doctor's office getting an x-ray or whatever. All of it counts towards what? Your annual out-of-pocket maximum, which in your policy, I believe, is $3,000. So let's say in this example, this is just where you came in. You're at the emergency room, and the reason I'm talking about your health insurance, I'm a licensed agent. I'm licensed with Blue Cross. If you can't get service, if somebody's sick or out of town or won't call you back, you call me. Because I can get done in 10 minutes what'll take you a day on the phone with the insurance company. But the reason I was talking about health care is that it's not health care anymore, it's money care. If you don't know your policy and what your rights are, everywhere you turn, you're going to get overcharged. Some of it's intentional, some of it's just incompetence. Either way, you're going to spend more than you should. So I'll give you an example. You go to the hospital, your bill's $1,000, you're at the emergency room. Your deductible on your policy, Amy said, is $400. Deductible is what you pay before they pay, right? So you pay the $400. There's $600 left on the bill. The coinsurance is 80/20. That's when coinsurance kicks in. So now you're sharing with the insurance company. They're going to pay 80% of the $600. You pay 20%. 20% of $600 is another $120. So you go home that night and you've spent $520 for a $1,000 bill, right? And then somewhere in the course of the year, you have another, let's say, $400 of copays. This doctor visit, that x-ray, this test, that test. So if you had another $400 on top of $520, you spent, what, $920? Okay. Let's call it an even $1,000. So now you have, what, $2,000 more before you hit your out-of-pocket? Okay. So let's say you go to the hospital again, unfortunately. Worst year of your life. You're at the hospital, and the bill is $50,000. You get admitted. You're really sick. You're in the hospital for 2 weeks. If the bill was $50,000, and you've already spent $1,000, and your annual out-of-pocket maximum is $3,000, you've got $2,000 left to go, right? So the bill is $50,000. And the hospital is going to ask you what at the end when you leave?
What would you like to pay?
Right. First of all, your deductible is once per year. Check your policy. Right. So sometimes, and again, this might be somebody coming by your bed as they're checking you out that day and saying, well, let's see, your deductible is $400. No. I already paid my deductible 2 months ago. Oh, sorry. Your bill, no matter what it is, $50,000, $500,000, you've already hit $1,000 of your annual out-of-pocket max of $3,000. You know you only have $2,000 more. So if they said that you owe $11,000. No, you owe 2. Most people overpay because they don't know the details of their policy. Last comment I wanted to make to you. Call Blue Cross someday and ask them to send you in an email, and they will, like that, what's called a summary of benefits. It's a little PDF. It's about 2 or 3 pages, and it lists your policy in a very simple menu. It says, here's where you go, hospital, doctor, x-ray, prescription drugs, here's what you pay. I guarantee you, somewhere out there someday you're going to go use your policy, and somebody will have it wrong. They'll tell you at the pharmacy you're not covered for prescription drugs, and you say, no, I am. No, you're not. No, you'll lose that argument unless you have your summary of benefits on your phone. You could be traveling in Chicago. You're in a strange doctor's office. Nobody even knows you. You're in a hospital in San Francisco. But if you say, no, hang on, here's my summary of benefits, they know you're an educated consumer. Your biggest friend in healthcare today, be an educated consumer. Know what you own, or else you're going to overpay left and right. Any questions on healthcare? Oh boy. Most Americans are drowning in debt. Debt is really probably the number one stressor for most people. And debt is compound interest working against you. It's really hard to get ahead when you have a ton of debt on your back. One of the first places I'll start a client, going to get your money in a system, the software for tracking your money. If you really want to get super efficient, there's software that's all free for time management. So you're really cooking with gas. You're managing your money and your time. You're incredibly efficient every day. And then the next thing I'll tell a client is we're going to get you out of debt. Now, everybody know Dave Ramsey? Power down your debt. All right. Any kind of debt, mortgage debt, credit card debt, cars, boats, trucks, planes, whatever it might be, you can power it down. And here's what I can do for you. I'll run you what's called a get out of debt report. And let me take just a second and show you how this works. I'll come over here. Because this is how easy it is to power down debt. Okay? I had mentioned earlier that when somebody actually tracks their money, I can't think of a person I've ever sat down with that you didn't find several $100s. It varies, but invariably somebody says, I'll be darned, I was living paycheck to paycheck, but I just found 100, 200, 300. Here's a real life example. This young man had a bunch of student loans. So again, it could be any kind of debt, but let me show you very quickly how easy it is to get debt out of your life. All right. We got his money into the software system and he found literally $750 a month. Now that's a big number, that's unusual, but we found when he did his tracking system, I don't like to use the word budget because again, budget means you're scrimping and saving. No, it's actually the opposite. You're going to have more money when you track it. We found $750. Okay? So these were his, and this is from the software that he didn't even realize he had. He kind of suspected when he called me, he said, I'm not really in control of my money and I know I'm spending more. He said, I just don't know where it's going. And then once we got that money in his system, sure enough, his gut was right. There was 750. So let me show you how Dave Ramsey's system works. Whatever the number is for you, could be $50 or $100. Again, I'll tell you that almost everybody I sit down with, the average is somewhere between $200 and $300. Literally slipping through your fingers. Someone says, I have no money to save. I'll bet you do. It's in your budget. It's just kind of going through your fingers. Okay. So, let me make sure this is clear. I can't get this clicker to work here. Okay. So we took what's called the power payment, $750. This was his schedule of debt anyway. He was already paying 43 to this debt. He was paying 50 to this debt, 55 to this debt. This will work on your mortgage once we know what your power payment is, Amy? Okay. Do you notice how the debts are structured? It's the smallest debt first. Everybody thinks they should go after the biggest debt first, or the debt with the highest rate. No, what you want to do is you attack the smallest debt first so that you can get it behind you. Then you go after the next one and the next one. So his smallest debt was $2,615, then $2,904, then $3,156. He was already paying $43 a month towards that bill. When we added $750, which again, I didn't ask him to cut back or scrimp or save or don't go out to dinner or don't take vacations. It was already in his life. He just didn't know it until he got his money in his system. When he found $750, he was on his way. Because once you get your money in the system, you've got traction, and now you've got direction and focus, and you can start to attack things because you know how much you've got to work with. It's really impossible to do any financial planning unless you know where your money's going. Took $750 and $43 and attacked this debt of $2,615. It took only 4 months to get rid of this $2,615. So month 5, what do? Well, let's see. If this $43 debt is gone in 4 months, in month 5, what do? Amy? Well, how did we get $793? 3 smart ladies. How do we get $793 for this power payment now?
$750 and $43.
Right. He's got the $750, he's got the $750. Now he's got $43 to pay to the debt, but wait a second. That debt's done.
Right.
So now it's month 5, and he's got $793 as the power payment. His $750, the $43, this debt's paid. $793, he was paying $50 to that debt. $793 and $50 gets rid of that debt in 7 months. See how the timeline? We went after the smallest debt first, just to get rid of it. So it takes him 7 months to get rid of student loan 2. And by the way, his student loans were causing him an enormous amount of stress. It was just bugging him. He felt like he was still in school, like I want to move on with my life, and it just feels like I can't get this ball and chain. I keep coming back to this. It's why I'm here today. Sheriff Lohr wants money stress out of your life. Okay. 7 months later, Kelly, this student loan 2, $793 and $50 knocks out the $2,904 in 7 months. Right? Okay. What happens next? What would you do next? Now it's month 8. The first 2 loans are done. What happens next, please?
Take the amount you were paying for those first 2 loans, add it to the $750, and start paying that on the next one.
So $793, which is his $750 plus $43, $793. You attack this loan, you get rid of it. $793 and $50 is $843, right? And away we go. If you follow this through, $843 and $55 is $898. $898 his regular $95. Get rid of this loan. $898 and $95 is $993 plus $71. 17 months later, we're rid of this loan, and on and on and on. What finally happens? All of these payments, 43, 50, 55, 95, 71, 203 plus a 750 equals what? Okay. He has no other debt except what now? His mortgage. $1,267. Have I asked him to come up with any money that, oh, don't go out to dinner or don't take the family? It was already in his budget. I can't stress that enough. So when somebody says, I can't do that, you actually already are. You're just not doing it in a systematic way. Okay? Oh, no, I want to go back. Okay, it's like I said, nothing happens without these glasses. Okay, 1,267, right? This is now all of the payments, the power payments, all of the prior bills paid off. He was paying $1,060 on the mortgage, right? What was his monthly payments total? $1,577, right? Well, $1,577 is what he was paying. We got him this through the power payments. The mortgage is done when? 86 months. So let's go down to where we end up. If he kept on doing what he had been doing, just these little payments, and he never sat down and tracked his money in the software and found the $750, he just kept slipping through his fingers, he would have been done with the mortgage in 15 years. The mortgage was $175,480. He had a mortgage. Total payments were $221,200 because of $45,000 of interest over 15 years. Everybody with me? Okay. At the end of 15 years, if he just kept doing what he'd been doing, which was this, would have taken him 15 years to pay off everything, including the mortgage. He would have paid $45,720 in debt. And at the end of those 15 years, Martha, how much did he have in savings? Nothing. He had a stack of canceled checks. He was debt-free in 15 years, saying, Eureka, I've paid off all my student loans, I've paid off my mortgage, I got a stack of canceled checks, and I have no debt. And on the left here, boy, I cannot get this thing right. On the left here is where he would have been. If he did the power payment system, got his money in a system, started to attack the debt in a systematic way, he had the same original debt of $175,000. Instead of paying $221,000, he pays $198,000 because his interest is only $23,000, not $45,700. Tell me something. How did we get the $260,000 of savings? Here's what he did. He's actually doing this plan as we speak. He started this a little over a year ago. Stop and think. Amy, you wake up one day, in 7 years, roughly, all of these bills, including your mortgage, are paid. Well, what do you do with the $1,577? You have no more bills to pay, right? So you wake up one day and you're all set to spend money on the mortgage, but you have no mortgage. You also, along the way, still have the $750. So you take the $750, the $1,577, assuming you keep on saving the $750, which you've been doing now for 7 years. You take the $1,577 because all these bills are paid. $1,577 plus $750 is $2,327, $2,327. So you wake up one day and you say, well, I've got my $750 that I've been saving for years and I no more have debt. What do I do with the $2,327? I'll save it. I've been saving it so far, I'll keep on saving it. I talked earlier on a slide before you came about what happens when you save $1. It isn't just $1. It's what you can do with that dollar, invest it, compound it over your life expectancy. It's not $1 anymore. It's a lot more than $1. One of those websites is an interest calculator to figure out when you don't pay $1 of interest and you put it back in your pocket and you compound it the rest of your life. Wow, it's a big number. Watch what happens. This young man is going to get to a spot where he's paid off in 7 years. He's about a year into it. And now he's rolling because he really does have a system. He knows exactly what to do each month, and he's just following it methodically. One step, next step, next step. If you take 2327, I didn't even use a big number. Remember I said earlier that I'm not crazy about speculating in the stock markets with your 457? That's your pension money. I like safe, steady investments. People underestimate the power of compounding. It's kind of that tortoise and the hare. Everyone's off playing the markets, and that person just compounding along at a safe, steady, guaranteed rate usually wins the day. If you took 2327, the 1577, the 750, 4%, why did I use 7.93 years, Kelly? Well, he was going to be paying for 15, right? Right. Forget about the rest of his life. I'm just talking about, well, if you were going to pay for 15 and we're done in 7, let's just pretend for the next 8 years what happens. Now, this is a young man, by the way. This gentleman's about 32. So even in 7 years, let's say he's knocking on 40. Look at that number. If he did what he was doing, he'd have paid $45,000 in interest over 15 years and ended up with a stack of canceled checks and no savings. By simply reshuffling his finances into an orderly system and then following a very methodical process systematically, he ends up out of debt in 7. He didn't pay $45,000 in interest, he paid $23,000. And his savings balance is $260,000, and in 7 years he's 40. $260,000 at 4% times the rest of his life, you're talking huge numbers. Versus paying the VIG, getting your money in a system, attacking it systematically, and then every dollar you were paying in interest, you put in your pocket, you compound it the rest of your life. He and I were goofing around recently. This $260,000, if he never added another dime, if all of a sudden he said, you know what, I'm done saving, I'm going to go off the wagon. I'm going to spend $23.27 a month on fun. If he just took this $260 at age 40, it's over 7 figures by retirement. It's over $1 million. That's what this was worth to him. That's why I stress to clients, and I'm repeating myself because it is so critical to lay the foundation. Get your money in a system, get your time in a system, start to work very methodically like a Swiss watch, and attack debt. Here's how it looks on a chart. If he had just done what he was doing, in 15 years, he was done with his debt and had no savings. With the get out of debt report, he's done in roughly 7, and his savings are $260. If you want me to run you the get out of debt report, you give me a call, and I'll run that for you for free. Do you carry debt with? Do you carry any debt, ma'am?
Sure.
Okay. What's that? Well, actually, Kelly.
Kelly doesn't.
Because I don't own.
When you get in debt,
When you buy a house.
that's right. I'm working on a case right now, client in New York. I've been in this business 33 years. I have clients all across the country. A client in New York has a $490,000 mortgage. Bigger homes, bigger bills. New York. She's 2 years into a 30-year mortgage. Mortgage isn't that bad. It's 3.58%. That's not a killer. 30 years is a killer. This got out of debt report, putting her money in a system, finding the power payment, everything we just went through. Guess how long it's going to take her to pay off the mortgage now? Not 28 more years, but take a guess. 10. 10. She's late 30s. She'll be late 40s. Her savings balance times the rest of her life once again becomes this incredibly silly number. I want to stress one last point about this again. This young man did not change his lifestyle at all. He was already spending the $750. When we put his money in his system and he realized where it was going, he was like, holy smokes, that's where I'm spending it, and that's where I'm spending it. And he literally changed how he spent it. I didn't ask him to come up with more money or stop going out to dinner. He just realized where the money was going and then decided, I'm going to throw it at my debt. And he's on his way. Okay. This clicker's driving me crazy. There we go. Okay, income taxes. Everybody's like, oh, I don't want to talk about taxes. My CPA handles that. Folks, two things. Don't do your taxes alone. It's the old adage of you don't know what you don't know, you can't know what you don't know. So you don't even know you're making a mistake on your tax return. I had a young lady the other night call me from my radio show. She asked me to look at her taxes, and in about 1 minute, when I looked at her tax return for this year, I said, do you work from home? She said, yeah, I work from home. I said, where's your home office deduction? No home office deduction. There's an IRS form for it. There's a short form for it. 20, 30 years ago, when you had a home office deduction, the IRS kind of wigged out. I was there. I remember back in the 80s, it was like, woo! You had to get a permit from City Hall to have a home office deduction. Who doesn't have a home office now? Most of America does something from their home. Almost every business owner I know has some kind of space set aside at home for a little bit of home office. In about a minute, she was able to find a deduction she was missing. So rule number one, don't do your taxes alone. And by the way, that software you can buy online. Again, the software isn't interactive. It won't talk with you. So sometimes if you don't ask it the right question, it won't give you an answer. So I don't like that online software. You can go to a CPA, you can go to some of these companies, spend very little money, and I guarantee you, if somebody walked into some of the well-known companies that do taxes, let's say it cost you $100, I guarantee you, you're going to save more in taxes than you spent. Don't do your taxes alone, number one. Number two, how many of you have a CPA or use an accountant, please? Not yet? You do them alone?
Yeah, like TurboTax.
Oh, there we go, there we go. I would urge you, I'm trying to get my glass of water, got my coffee over there. Folks, I take your money seriously. I don't take myself very seriously, so just kind of roll with me here. I would urge you, have you done your taxes yet this year? All right. Next year, stroll in somewhere or give me a call. I've done this 30 plus years, and like the young lady I just mentioned, I can look at your taxes and in a heartbeat just instantly say, what about this, what about that, what about this? Number two, if you have a certified public accountant, how many people talk to their accountant more than once a year? How often, please?
It will depend on what's up, but probably about 3-4 times a year.
Fantastic. Most people talk to their accountant once a year. So here's how it works. You get to, let's say right about now, it's March of 2015, and you gather up this big shopping bag of all your receipts, and you send it off to your accountant, and they send you back your tax return and say you owe this, and you write a check, and you drop it in the mail. And it's probably the largest single bill in your life. Stop and think about it. Income taxes comprise what? 20, 30, 40% of everything you do every day. You weren't here when we started, but the average American, middle class, pays about 25% taxes. So everything you do every day, every working hour, 25% of it is income taxes. You pay taxes in retirement on your Social Security, on your deferred comp. When you die, The executor of your estate will file one last income tax return after you're dead, which kind of says it all. It's the forever bill. It's the largest single bill in your life. Is there anything bigger than 25% of your life? Even your mortgage isn't as big. And your mortgage will amortize, right? You'll eventually pay it off. Taxes don't amortize. Amortizing is where you shrink a debt, right? An amortization schedule. Income taxes are forever. Most Americans overpay their income taxes by how much do you think? Take a guess, the average American.
10%.
About $1,000 to $3,000 a year. So if you go back to one of those slides, page 19, there were a couple of websites for interest rate calculators. Take $2,000 a year, plug it in, pick a really low rate of return, 2%, 3%, 1%. Take your life expectancy. By the way, an average female in this country today is going to live to about age 90. So if you're 30 years old, say I got 60 more years, $2,000 a year I save on my taxes, I stop overpaying, times 1%, and run the math, and once again, what do you have? Just a ginormous number. Here's my point on income taxes, especially when you're talking to an accountant once a year. When you do your taxes every year, like most Americans, and you get your tax return right now, it's for what year? Right now, your accountant's sending you a tax return for what year, please?
Last year.
2014. And you can do what about the tax bill? You can do zero. It's last year. It really blows my mind that everybody is always working a year behind on something you cannot do anything about. So you get your tax return from your accountant, and you say, oh my gosh, holy smokes, how'd that happen? Oh, I'm so unhappy. What can we do about it? Nothing. That's not tax planning, that's tax paying. You want to do what I call work in the present. So let's say right now you finish your 2014 tax return and you get it behind you. You immediately say to your accountant or whoever you're working with, you immediately say, I want to get caught up. So within a month or so, you get to the end of March or early April, you file April 15th, you get 2014 behind you, and you say, I want to start working on 2015 right now. And you'd collect all your receipts for the first quarter, all your pay stubs, you'd call your account, and you'd say, I want to start talking quarterly, 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 every 90 days. You know how business owners file their tax returns quarterly? Well, the IRS has it right. If you're on top of your taxes every 90 days, then what will happen? Let's say it's June of this year. So you filed your 2014, you got it behind you, you said to your new accountant, you said, here's my 2015 pay stub so far. And maybe you have a home office business, and here are my receipts for the business. And here's my home office deductions. And you get caught up. And I'll see you when? End of June. And then all of a sudden, end of June, you made a lot of money in your home office business. And your accountant says, wow, you're really cooking with gas. I think we should get some more deductions for you. Have you thought about an IRA? Have you thought about increasing your deferred comp? And you have the ability in June of 2015 to do what? To work on your 2015 taxes with 6 more months to go. Work in the present. If all you're doing is sending receipts off once a year, and somebody's sending you back a return, and you're not talking in the middle, think about it. What can you do properly once a year? It's like saying I'm going to work out once a year. Today I'm going to do my annual workout and I'll be fit. Work in the present. It takes a lot of stress out of your life because you're not racing to get your taxes done April 15th and the receipts and back and forth. The accountants are just as stressed. I had a lady call me the other day. She found several mistakes in her tax return. That's what happens when everybody's rushing at the end here to get it all done. If you get on top of your taxes, you're going to find out two things. Number one, taxes are not that difficult. You don't have to become a CPA. You don't have to learn the tax code. Just every 90 days, you need to meet with or speak with your accountant. An hour, maybe even just 30, 40 minutes. May I ask you why you? Because you're very unusual. Why you? No, in a good way. May I? Do you mind, Ryan, please? Some water, thanks. What makes you do that, please? Because that's actually unusual, in a good way.
Yes, and it's over years for different reasons, but owned property, sold property,
Thank
owned
you.
business, sold a business. I mean, had other things that I just knew I was to do that. It wasn't like, I don't know.
Are you working on your 015 now or 014, please, Martha?
I am working on 015, but not as much as I would like to.
But you're working in the present.
Yes, I am.
So that anything you're discussing with your accountant today, we've got 8 more months to fix. Think about that. It's so simple, really. There's nothing else that you would do once a year looking back. If you save $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a year in your taxes, again, go back to those interest calculators. I really urge you to. Put the number in, and like you saw with that young man on the Get Out of Debt report, the number you saved isn't $1,000 a year. It's $1,000 a year times the rest of your life times 2, 3, 4, whatever percent, and the number is ridiculous. Most Americans overpay their taxes. And most Americans are intimidated. Oh, it's too confusing. Again, last point, you don't have to become a CPA. You have to meet with your CPA once every 90 days. And if you can't find a CPA who does that, keep looking. I'll give you this last comment. Client recently said to me, I'm paying my CPA $400 a year. Okay, why don't you pay him $100 a quarter and talk 4 times a year instead of once a year for $400? Pay him the same $400, talk to you the first quarter, $100, second quarter, $100, and I guarantee you a really good accountant would prefer that because they don't enjoy the tax crush any more than you do. They'll make less mistakes and you'll have less money stress because you'll always be working in the present.
I have found that it just is a better rapport with them. And I don't know how you put a dollar number on that, but I just think they're working more for you if you can establish that rapport.
Well, I'm going to take you on all of my seminars.
Yeah, right.
You're working in the present, and you're right. One of the intangibles is that it's just calmer. You're having a conversation every 90 days. They know you better, you know them better. It's like any relationship. You're talking 4 times a year, not 1. And then little changes in your life they're immediately aware of. You say, hey, I started a home office business. Oh, great. Let's get that home office deduction going right now. Okay. Insurance 101. A necessary evil. Insurance, everyone's favorite topic. Home, health, auto, fire, flood, renters, wind, fire, on and on and on. And a lot of it you cannot avoid. Do you folks pay any part of your health insurance premium, please? Or is it 100% taken care of?
For individual is 100%.
That's great. So that's not a bill in your life. Okay. Someday, if you're not on the force, that's actually very rare now to find employers who pick up 100%.
Of a single, if they have a family plan, we pay that, they're out.
Right. But let's take health insurance out for a moment because you folks are covered. And you can't really influence your health insurance. You can get smart about using it, as I mentioned earlier, but let's talk about every other insurance in your life. Just for a moment, think of the bills. Got homeowners, auto. You can even get insurance on your mobile devices and your phone and your laptops, right? Here's my simple point. And again, you missed the first part, but I was talking about how when you earn $1 every day, most Americans are in the middle class, and most Americans pay about 25% tax rate, give or take, which means you've got 75 cents to bring home. This course is about tracking every single one of those 75 pennies. Not just investing wisely, but where am I spending my money? Tracking it, following it, paying down my debt. Okay, reducing my income taxes. And I said at the top of the course that a large part of today was about wringing out your expenses, getting your business life, if you will, down to running like a Swiss watch. Okay, so we just knocked down your income tax bill, right? And you pocketed $1,000, whatever. Once a year, and I'm in the business, once a year, I take every single one of my policies when they come due on renewal, and what do you think I do? When they send me the renewal for my auto, my homeowners, fire, flood, theft, wind, what do? You shop and compare. And it is so easy today. You get your auto insurance bill, you get your homeowners once a year, right? Even if you didn't have a good agent, even if you were on your own, go online, and I'll get my auto bill, and I'll go online. I don't do auto insurance, so I'll go online, and literally in about 15 or 20 minutes, like the commercial says, you're going to find out one of two things. Either you can do better, and you just save some money, or you've actually got the best policy at the moment, and you put it back in the drawer, and you're like, that was time well spent. And you've got the peace of mind that comes from knowing, no, that bill is as low as I can get it. Now, last year, I remember I was thrilled. It took me about, I'm Scottish, we're frugal. Every penny counts. It took me literally about maybe half an hour, roughly, to find a cheaper auto policy. I saved 12%. I remember I was thrilled, and I canceled the old, and I got on the new, and I set up the automatic bank draft, and about 30 minutes later, I was like, bingo, 12%. 12% times, how much is auto insurance? Let's say $1,000 a year? All right, let's say it's 10% you saved, 100? $100 times X percent times the rest of your life times 100 every year is not $100. I had mentioned earlier that when you overpay bills, including interest on your debt, or you get the bills down to the right amount, like your taxes, the swing is huge. You didn't save $1. You saved $1 compounded the rest of your life. These are big numbers. One of the points I wanted to stress here is that if you look at people who are very comfortable, sometimes late in life, and you look at the person who wasn't making a fortune, the way they did it was exactly this. They wrung out their expenses. They saved the savings. They invested it. They compounded it. And that's how you get there. It's not making a killing in the stock market or making a killing in this or that. It's a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, 1,000 on your taxes, 100 on your auto insurance, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here. And before you know it, it's like saving change in a jar. You come home, a little bit of change doesn't seem like much, and then a year later you look at the jar and it's a huge jug of change. The point I want to stress is that a lot of these savings that will get you way ahead is little here, little here, little here, little there. And once you get good at this, I guarantee you, once you get involved in your taxes or you sit down with your accountant quarterly, is it intimidating now for you? Is it scary? Is it hard? No. It's just, what do you have, a phone call every 90 days? Yeah, and you are the perfect example of what I'm talking about. And is it like, oh no, my dreaded tax call? How long are you on the phone, if I may ask? Or
Maybe 10 minutes max. Yeah.
she said she's on the phone 10 minutes quarterly with her accountant. And you have a better rapport. You meant, yeah. I've done insurance for 30 plus years. If you have any insurance bill, you call me. If I don't do it personally, I'll refer you to someone who does. What I was saying earlier is that sometimes the easiest way to attack all of this is a little bite, a little bite. You know, it's the old phrase, how to eat the elephant, one bite at a time. Sometimes you might just pick up the phone, call me, and say, you got 5 minutes? Yeah, sure, what's up? I got a quick question. And 5 minutes later, income taxes, insurance, deferred comp, whatever it might be, you're like, that's perfect. That's just what I needed, thanks. Boom. So again, it's not this big project, it's little bits, little bits, little bits, little bites. Anybody have college age children?
Not yet,
But
they're younger,
how old, please?
9 and 13.
Okay. Have you started something for college, please? Okay. Florida has the 529 plans. Everybody knows the number, 529, you've heard it? Again, it's an IRS code section. Somebody says, how'd you get a 457? It's an IRS code section. How'd you get a 529? It's an IRS code section. Florida has 2 plans. And I gave you here, Amy, links. Florida has one plan called the prepaid. And if you want to get information, you can go to that link or you can call me. They also have questions and answers from the Internal Revenue Service. None of this is difficult. If you do find it kind of sticky, call me and say, I'm looking here at this link, and what about this, what about that? Florida has 2 plans. The prepaid plan, and have you looked into these? Have you checked them out?
I haven't.
Okay. Very briefly, the prepaid plan is where you are paying a set amount of money over a period of time for, let's say, 4 years of school. So Florida today, open enrollment closed, but Florida today would say $27,000 will get you 4 years of tuition. And they have different plans. There's tuition and books, and 2 years in college, and 2 years out of state. There's 4 different plans. And then you pay over time. And you're completely prepaid. There's also a 529 savings plan, where you say, no, I don't want to do it that way. I want to invest over here. And Florida's hired some money managers to help you invest your money. So anybody who has college-age children, when you do, you can check out those links, you can give me a call, and we can put together different college plans for you. And again, if you go back to step 1 and your money's in the system, I guarantee you I've never sat down with somebody yet, from people who make a little to people who make a lot. Never yet met a person that we didn't find some money in their budget where they said, I'll be darned, I could afford to do that, whatever it is.
Is that, I'm sorry.
Sure, go ahead, please.
Is that still the prepaid plan where it locks in the tuition at today's tuition rather than at the time?
Sure, I called them before I did this, just to double check some of the numbers. Right now, at least come the fall, $27,000 flat would get your child 4 years of tuition. And again, there's different variations. There's tuitions plus books, 2 years in-state, 2 years out. They have different choices. But if you just, what's that?
So double it.
So, but if somebody said right now, I want to sign up for that, $27,000, then they work out a payment plan. You're not giving them a $27,000 check. You got a payment plan, but you've just locked in 4 years of Florida college for that price. If you go back, myfloridaprepaid.com. And again, if somebody says, I just need somebody to help me start, call me. And I can help you get going. I keep stressing that because a lot of times the hardest part of anything in life is just starting it. And you're on the bike by yourself and it's kind of wobbly. And then you start to ask some questions and you get a handle on it and you're on your way. You can also do a fully insured plan, and that's really simple. All you're doing is you're buying life insurance on yourself. The greatest risk to a college plan is your death. It's not, will I make the payments? It's, will I be here to make the payments? So one of the things I always stress to a parent is if you're actually doing college planning, whether it's cash value life or term life, and that's a whole different discussion and it's individualized, just think about what you really want to do is put an umbrella over your head. I need to first of all ensure my life, because I'm the person who's making the payments to the prepaid plan or the savings plan. And a fully insured college plan will make certain your child goes to school. I was talking with Sergeant Luther about this earlier, that whatever you're doing here, saving monthly for your child, that's great, but the biggest risk is your death prematurely. Okay, you have a lot of different choices in retirement planning. You're all doing deferred comp. Martha, you've done it for a while? Good for you. And you're heading out the door when, please?
I don't know for sure. Sometime the next couple of years.
Okay.
I wish I had done it from day one I started here.
Oh, I wish I'd bought land in. wish I'd bought. I wish.
Mandatory, every new hire gets put in it automatically.
I have worked with police and fire my whole life. When I was in Connecticut, I was born and raised in Connecticut. The new person coming on usually got a tremendous amount of peer pressure. You've got to sign up for this. We're going to make you sign up for it. Put away $5, $10. You're right, you wish you could make it mandatory because the young folks have time on their side. And people think you have to save a bunch of money. You're doing deferred comp? You don't. You need to do something consistently and early. I even tell people who say, oh, I can't save a dime. All right, listen, here's where I want you to start. Come home each week, take the change out of your pocket, put it in a jug, and start. And again, I keep stressing, like any one of these, the hardest part is starting. And then somebody says a month later, gee, I got $212 in that jug. Open up a bank account, put in $5 a week, and then $10 a week, and before you know it, you're on your way. My point on the retirement planning is you have a lot of choices. You have deferred comp, you've got the drop, you've got the Florida retirement system. I'll give you two thoughts. Number one, I'm a big believer in safe money. I've done this business 33 years. I can tell you truly that I could count on two hands with a couple of fingers to spare the number of investors I've seen make money in the markets long term. Everybody thinks the stock market's where you make money. I think it's where you lose money. And you're playing against a crowd today that you're not even playing against human beings now. These are computer programs set up with algorithms pre-programmed that night to trade hundreds of millions, billions, trillions of dollars in the push of a button. It's like you standing there on the beach saying, oh, look, a seashell. Let me pick out this stock. And you look up, and there's this wave coming in. They're even doing what they call flash trading now. You can see stock charts where you'll see the stock, and all of a sudden the stock will take a spike, $2 or $3, $10 up, and 90 seconds later, it's back down. 90 seconds, 120 seconds. They're in and they're out with a couple of $1 billion, and they spike it and they're gone. It's called pump and dump. That's who you're playing against. I was talking earlier about the financial pyramid. You ever seen those pyramids, the financial planning? The bottom slab, the biggest, is your safest rock solid asset, usually your home. You know, that's where I live, that's where I'm building equity. And then each slab, safe money, and then you start to move up where each slab gets narrower and riskier. So maybe at the very top is where you're speculating in gold stocks or commodities. But it's money that's way up here. In my mind, your deferred comp, your retirement plan, your Roth IRA, these are retirement accounts. This is pension money. Do you really want to take that risk? We talked before you came about the people who took a hit in '09. In 6 months, they cut the market in half. And it's going to happen again. I don't know when, but take your safe money and do something safe with it, and don't underestimate the power of compounding. We've talked this whole day today about what happens when you take a little bit of money and you park it somewhere guaranteed and safe and compound, and you just let it cook. And it's that tortoise walking down the road and the hare doing this. Do you know why most investors lose money in the stock markets long term? Why do you think? Take a guess. Why do you think most people, and I can speak from experience, why do you think most people you talk to will tell you somewhere way down the road, nah, I didn't make a dime. Nah, I got my head handed to me. Why do you think? Take a guess, please.
If it goes down, they're a believer and it's going to go back up and they're going to make the money. I don't know.
What do you think, please? I'll get to you.
You see something big and go purchase it, and then it drops. They react too quickly, and things go south.
You're all right, but here's really why in the end. You're all right. Everybody makes those mistakes. They never sell. Today is a perfect example. The stock market's been up, and I don't want to get off the path too much, but I want to make this point, because there are people all across this country today in this department who are coming around third base and heading towards retirement. I got 2 or 3 or 5 years, and if you're within 5 years of retirement, you're coming around third base. It is not the time where you want to trip up. It's a time where you want to pick it up and say, oh man, there's home plate. I can see it, I can taste it, I can touch it. If you're within 5 years of retirement, and you can pass this along to anybody, you want to make sure you get there. Here's why most people lose in the markets in the end. They never sell. So somebody would say to me, man, I had this just the other day. Man says to me, I've made a lot, and he put it in a text, A-L-O-T, capitals. I've made a lot of money in the stock market since 2009. In March of '09, remember when everything was going to heck? General Motors was going bankrupt and Wall Street was melting. In March of '09, the Dow Jones Industrials bottomed at 6,600, 6,600. March 9th, you could have stepped into the breach if you had a crystal ball, and you could have bought it down here, buy low. Hard to do, it's scary to buy something when, as J. Paul Getty said, there's blood in the streets. 6,600. You know where the Dow Industrials is today? It's about 18,000. It's about 3 times. You've made 300%. Man says to me, I made a lot of money in the market. Because this man, by the way, was heading just into retirement. He's 68. He's taking his IRA in 2 years. And I said to him, Dick, you're 2 years from taking your IRA. 2 little years to work. What if you take a pounding in the next 24 months and you've got to take your IRA from something that's declining? So a double whammy. You're taking money out of something that's going down. So now it's really doing this. And he said, I made a lot of money in the market since '09. And I asked him, I said, have you sold? Then you have not made a dime. You'll meet people who will tell you, I bought this stock at 10, I rode it to 50, and I rode it back down to 4. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not how professionals do it. Well, I'll leave you this thought, and I wanted to stress this because bull markets are up, bear markets are down. You know that terminology? A bull market is up, and a bear market is down. Bull markets end, like summer eventually ends, followed by winter, and then winter ends and summer comes again. You've had a bull market since 2009. Historically, 6 years, this is a very long in the tooth market. So I would say to somebody, do what the pros do. know when to leave the party. You know how they tell you to buy and hold? Right? Buy and hold and buy and hold and buy some more if it goes down. That's what they practice. That's what they preach. It's not what they practice. If they practiced buy and hold, you wouldn't have these declines. Who do you think's doing all the selling? I'll leave you this thought. There's an old phrase on Wall Street. The pros panic first. You got $1,000 in the market, I've got $100 million. I manage the California State Pension Fund. I have no margin of error. To lose that much money and my job, I'm the first one out the door. Guess who I'm selling to, by the way? It's an auction market. Don't ever forget that. Every time somebody's selling, they're selling to the little guy always ends up holding the bag. I can't stress it enough today. Take your safe money, your pension money, your deferred comp money, take your Florida retirement system, take your drop money, and get that money safe. And then if you say, well, gosh, I've got $1,000 over here, I think I'll go play the gold stocks or come on. That's different. That's the top of the pyramid. People lose in the markets because they never sell. Markets are dynamic. Last point I wanted to make here. We talked about doing your taxes quarterly. Take a look at your deferred comp quarterly. Markets change, seasons change. You wouldn't wear the same clothes all year. You'd say, oh, winter's gone, spring is here, I'll get rid of my sweaters, I'll put on. Markets are dynamic. A professional money manager will rebalance their portfolio at a minimum of every 90 days. If I'm a professional money manager and I'm managing a mutual fund, a pension fund, a hedge fund, at least every 90 days, and I'm not saying day trading, but once a quarter when you're doing your taxes, once a quarter, take it all out. Take out your taxes, talk to your accountant. What did it take you, 10 minutes, you said? Take out your deferred comp. May I ask you a question, please? When was the last time you looked at your deferred comp? What do you own? Here's the 5 questions I want you to ask about your investments. And by the way, I could fill this room, don't feel badly, I could fill this room with 100 people, from the little guy to the people on the islands, the super duper, the 1%, and I could say, tell me something. What do you own? Oh, I've got this mutual thing in my broker hand. I don't know. It's unbelievable if you think about it. I'm not trying to sound patronizing, but you don't know what you own? You work so hard for that money. You paid taxes. You're trying to save it and grow it. Here are the questions I want you to ask on your money. What do you own? I'm going to make you write this down, Martha. There's a test after this.
I didn't know there was a test.
I want you to jot this down under number 9. Because these are the questions, whether you ask me or whether you ask anybody the rest of your life, be a proactive, smart, educated investor. You'll make more money, you won't lose money, you won't get ripped off, bamboozled. Number 1, what do you own? Oh, I own the Vanguard Large Cap Growth Fund. Okay, you know what you own. You own large cap stocks, meaning big companies like IBM and General Electric. It's a mutual fund. You know what you own. In your deferred comp, you're investing in which companies, please? Okay. And don't get me wrong, I'm trying to get you smarter. I'm not trying to be anything other than helpful. So it's not pointing to you, it's really virtually everybody. What do you own? Why do you own it? Somebody says to me, I own a whatever. And they know what they own. I had this conversation this morning, and I asked this gentleman politely, why do you own it? Do you own it for a good reason because it fits your needs and suits your purposes, or do you own it because it was sold to you? What do you own? Why do you own it? The performance. Now, if somebody says to you that your deferred comp is doing fine or dandy or wonderful or it's excellent or spiffy, no. 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 You want metrics. You want numbers. Gentleman I spoke with recently said to me, my IRA is doing fine. I said, fine? I said, come on. Come on. I have some fun with people. I try and help people, but sometimes what you want to do is kind of lift up the hood and say, come on. And he said, I'm doing fine. I said, well, tell me what you own. Didn't know what he owned. So first we found out what he owned. Said, why do you own it? Well, my broker said it was a good idea. Okay. How's the performance? He says, I'm doing fine. You know what fine was when I found out for him? He lost 1.13% last year. He thought he was doing fine. He was losing he was going nowhere. I got to tell you, when he found out that he was losing versus fine, that was a game changer. What do you own? Why do you own it? The performance, the risk. Now, risk can be measured by what's called beta, B-E-T-A. You don't need to be a money manager. Just know this. Beta is 1 through 5. You know alpha, beta, you know the Greek? Okay. Beta means change. Without getting too far into it, beta is 1 through 5. If you have a beta of 1, you have a very low volatility risk. The thing doesn't move much. You have a beta 2, moves a bit more. 3, 4, 5. If you got a beta of 5, you got a stock that's moving around like a rubber ball. You got a beta of 1, you probably own Pfizer stock, and it just sits there every day and pays out a dividend, and if you checked it every day, it's going to move a few pennies. It just doesn't have what's called volatility, beta. If you really want to know what you own, the risk, don't let somebody tell you you have low risk. There's no such thing as low risk. Don't ever buy that. There's no such thing as low. It's like a safe bet. A couple of weeks ago, they took IBM apart. IBM on the street now, the joke is, I bought misery. Now this is IBM. So you tell me, I own IBM. It's a safe stock. They took IBM down and just beat the dickens out of this stock for a couple of weeks. Now, is the company going out of business? No. But if someone said, I have a safe stock, no, you don't. There's no such thing as a safe stock. There's no such thing as low risk. Low risk? No such thing. Beta will tell you, and you can find it out, and you can call me, and I'll help you get smart with your money. And you can find out if your mutual fund and your deferred comps has a beta of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe you realize that everything you own has a beta of 5, and you're like, whoa, I didn't realize I had this much risk in my portfolio. What do you own? Why do you own it? The performance, the risk, and the fees. I'll leave it here. Everybody, even when they get into it, they say, I found out what I owned. I own the following mutual funds in my deferred comp, and I own it for these reasons. And I found out the performance numbers, and I know the beta, and I adjusted my portfolio. I found out I had 90% of my investments in 5-point beta, and I spread it out better, more diversified, less risk. The gentleman who made 1.13%, you know what his fees were? He didn't know. It took me about 5 minutes on the phone to find out with the mutual fund company. His fees were 5.75%. You're making 1 and you're paying almost 6? What's wrong with this picture? Who's making money? You'll get eaten alive on fees. I'll leave you this thought. The world's smartest money today, I'm talking about the people who are in that 1% upper echelon, you know, the world's smartest money, hire the world's smartest money. So let's say you're worth $550 million or $1 billion, right? Someday, hey, if you do everything in this course, you're going to get there. And you are not a money manager. You're a global entrepreneur. You're worth $1 billion. You're one of the world's wealthiest people, the world's smartest people. You hire some of the world's smartest people, the real true money managers of the world, some of the big names, Guggenheim Partners, BlackRock, big money managers. The world's smartest people hire the world's smartest people for 1% to 2%. Whether I'm on this earth or not, you find out your fees, and if you're paying over 2%, you're overpaying. 5.75%? No. I'm making 1 and I'm paying 5? And I'll guarantee you that most of the time, no one's going to say to you, oh, by the way, Martha, you made X% last year and your fees were Y. Now, that part of the conversation usually gets left out. You've got to ask, what are my fees? Let me show you why fees matter. And then we're almost done. Oh, I'm right on time. So the other day, I sit down with these two sisters who together have about $500,000, roughly $500,000. They're paying 4% in fees. We got their portfolio down to 1%. That's 3 points. 3% of $500,000 is $15,000 a year. A year. 3 points, 4% fees down to 1. They save 3. 3% times 500,000 and 3 times 5 is 15. It's $15,000 a year in fees. These women are roughly age 60. Based on mortality tables, they're going to live another 30 years. $15,000 annually. The 3-point spread that they saved. $15,000 annually times 30 years life expectancy. You know what the number was for them in terms of savings? It was $956,000. $956,000. Forget about performance. That's either $956,000 over their lifetime in their pocket or in their pocket. Find out what you're paying in fees. Because you'll get eaten alive. And a lot of times somebody will say, I made 22%. Yeah, but you paid 9%. You're getting killed. If you're paying more than 2%, you're overpaying. Okay, if you have any questions on any of your retirement plans, anything whatsoever, you call me, please. Want to wrap it up here. Social Security. Have you taken a look at this yet?
Yes, but I'm as confused as before I started.
I'm going to barrel through this at the end because I want to have a few questions. And then I actually have a question for each of you. Social Security is a real rabbit hole. There's about a dozen different strategies you could choose. File and suspend, restricted application. You can take a look at a divorced spouse's work record and Social Security Administration is not allowed to give advice. But this will be the largest single financial decision of your life. Most Americans are walking around, and literally Social Security's done studies, most Americans are walking around getting a lower check than they were entitled to. They just say, oh, hey, I'm whatever age, 62, 66, or 70. They go on down, they check a box. This is not like filing an address change. Now, I have a piece of software where I can get about 5 minutes of information from you, put it in the software, and it's so cool. The software will kick out. Here's the strategy, and here's when you should take it. I know to the day, I did it on myself, I know to the day when I'm supposed to take social. The software will calculate exactly the right strategy and exactly the right date. For me, it's not 66. You can start at 62, full retirement, the full benefits is 66, and you must start at 70, and anywhere in between. So if you don't file at 62, you can go to 63. From 62 to 66, you take a haircut. So your $1 check becomes 25 cents. At 66, you get your full benefits. If you wait from 66 to 70, they'll compound it an extra 8% a year. But the bottom line is when you take that check, it's irrevocable. It's an irrevocable election. So once you choose that check, within 12 months, you cannot go back. So when you go to take a look at your social, you give me a call and we'll feed it in the software. My age happens to be not 66, it's 66 and 10 months. And the software simply shows you on the chart, that's the perfect date for you and the perfect strategy for the maximum check. You've got a ways to go. Okay, I'm going to give you the how-to. I've never been a good salesperson. I teach at Indian River State College. I teach up at the Women's Business Center at Florida Institute of Technology. I love to teach. It's my way of giving back. It's my pro bono work. It's my way of making a difference. If I said one thing today that changes your life for the better, and way downstream you say, you know, that guy, what's his name? Helped me out a lot, whatever his name was. I can't tell you how important that is to me. The chief, actually, I call him the chief. I shouldn't call him chief. That's an old Connecticut term. The sheriff asked me when we were talking about doing this course, he said, well, how much are you going to charge? And I said, 0. I'm here today because this is my way of doing my part for my country, my community, of honoring and respecting law enforcement. It's my pro bono work. So it's really important to me that you get something from this, that you say at the end, he said one little thing that made a difference. You ever have a teacher, a professor in your life that you still think back on, right? I hope I was one drop today in your pool of success. Here's the formula. Pat Riley, the basketball coach, anybody remember him with the Miami Heat? Pat Riley came up with a philosophy for his players. He said, I want you to get 1% better today. Get 1% better on your free throws, 1% better on your dribbling, 1% better on your passing game. 1%. Can you do that every day? And he built championship teams with that philosophy. 1% of your day is 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Now, I don't have television. People think I'm a whack. Too stressful. 1% of your day, before you go to bed, read one article on anything. I gave you 3 really good, easy sites. So I want you to hang on to the workbook. You could go to businessinsider.com/newsletter and they'll give you for free, oh, this newsletter's, oh, yeah. MainStreet.com is a really fun site. Yahoo Finance. You hop on there once a day. Doesn't matter what the article is. Oh, Federal Reserve to raise interest rates. Click. Oh, housing starts down. Click. Anything. Watch what happens if you read a little bit each day. You'll get smart with your money. And you missed the beginning, but the whole point of this course is if you get smart with your money, you'll have more of it. Not greed, not avarice, better quality of life, less stress. You won't be working at Walmart's at 80. You ever see that? Older Americans working bad jobs, bad hours, bad places, bad pay. Quarterly meetings. You can call me, you can call your CPA, your deferred comp, once a quarter, 2 hours at the most. You get together with somebody for a good meal. You cover everything. You're going to talk about your taxes, my deferred comp, whatever's my mortgage acceleration, my debt repayment, and in 2 hours, you've touched all the bases. It's 8 hours a year. You watch how smart you get with a little reading each day and 4 meetings a year, 8 hours. I know you got 8 hours. Someone says, all right, I can work out 8 hours this year. I'll do that. Lastly, again, I've been here 33 years. I want to see you succeed. I really do. It means so much to me to see the American middle class survive and succeed. I fear for this country, especially for the middle class, just shrinking and going out of business and being ground out of business for your children what kind of a country they'll have. We can fight back. And the way you fight back is don't let them bamboozle you. Don't let them overcharge you on fees or take more in your taxes. Don't pay that interest to the bank. Fight back. How do you fight back? Put your money in your pocket. Call me anytime for anything. I'm serious. Hey, I catch you at a good time. Yeah, absolutely, positively. What's on your mind? And 10 minutes later, 5 minutes later, you say, that's it, that's great, I got it, thanks, goodbye. Boom. I'm a resource. What are you smiling at? Just,
You better got you in speed then.
I'm glad to see you smile. No, I hope I'm elevating you. I have a weekly radio show and I try and lift people up. Like I said, I don't take myself seriously, but I really want to see my neighbors, the people I live with, my community, my country. I want to see us succeed. Okay, last tidbit, I promise. We are right on time. If you take a look, I'd like you to quickly read these. Number one, I'll help you choose the best software. This was the first section you missed. I can help you learn the best software for time management. I'll help you with your 457. I'll help you understand your health insurance. I'll help you do a get-out-of-debt report. I'll give you what I call a 10-minute tax tune-up. Takes me about 10 minutes to look at a tax return. I'm not a CPA. I don't file tax returns. But it doesn't take long to look at somebody's tax return. And after 30 plus years in the business to say, hey, where's your home office deduction? Hey, based on your income, you know, you're entitled to the earned income tax credit. Did you take the earned income tax credit this year?
I said I wasn't.
But you looked, right? There you go. You can also go back 3 years. So sometimes if someone says, oi, this huge mistake I found, you can file a 1040X with the Internal Revenue Service and say, I missed a home office deduction for the last 3 years from date of filing. So the first thing I do in my 10-minute tax tune-up is if we find big mistakes for big money and it's worth it, thousands of dollars, we're going to spend $20, $30 going back 3 years. And you recover money you're entitled to. And the IRS says, oh yeah, home office deduction, you missed it. Okay, here you go. 1040X it's called. I can help you with your insurance policies. I'm not selling or soliciting. I'm trying to keep my word to Sheriff Lohr that I would help everybody in any way possible. College planning, retirement planning, Social Security. You're either getting ahead or you're falling behind. I love this phrase from Teddy Roosevelt. Do what you can with what you have where you are. You did the hardest thing today. I have such respect for you three. Look around. Who's here? I have such respect for you. I really do. You showed up. You got in your own huddle. Not on the sidelines saying, oh, I'm poor and I'm paycheck to paycheck and then doing nothing about it. You came and you showed up. I have such respect for you three, and I thank you for coming. And I want to finish right here on time with any questions about any topic under the sun, including anything I didn't talk about. Woo! Baby!
I don't have any right now, I'm sure I will.
You want to look at a minimum, you want to look inside your deferred comp. And ladies, I'll tell you the last thing I would say about today's stock market. Trees don't grow to the sky. You want to get inside your portfolio. What do I own? Why do I own it? What's the performance? What's the risk? What are the fees? And should I be rebalancing it? Should I be taking some money off the table? Gee, I put in 10 grand. It's worth 23. If you were playing poker and you started with 10,000 and you had 23,000, would you play every hand with all 23,000? What would you do? Common sense would kick in and you'd do what? Something. I'll take my 10 grand out I can't lose. I'm playing with house money. I'll take out my 10 grand and half of the house money. You wouldn't play every hand with every dollar. But today, most people in the market, all in, every hand, every day. And then they wonder why they take a beating. Because when this thing comes down, they open up a trap door and every dollar you have goes down. The pros don't do that. They're the first ones to sell. No questions for the moment? You could do me a huge favor, please. This is for Mr. Luther. I can't tell you how important it is to me that you leave here happy, smarter, better. I can't tell you how important it is to me. If you would do me a favor, I have a weekly radio show. Sergeant Luther had said to me that learning is repetition, right? They say it to you in training. Something about 3,000 times to do something before you get the hang of it. Every week, for 22 minutes, I do a radio show. It goes out on a Saturday morning. I send it in an email. You can play it on your desktop or your phone, but it's kind of that 1% drip, little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit. If you would like the show, just give me your name and your email. If there's something you want to talk about in particular, little box says, what do you want to talk about? And your phone number. I'm not going to call you and bug you, but if I look down and you say, I want the free get out of debt report for my mortgage, I'll call you and I'll run you that report. And then on the back, if you could make any comments about what you thought about the course, and I'm not fishing for compliments. If it's like, this was awful, I really want to know that too. Because it helps me get better. It helps me get better. The three amigos.
No, don't tell anybody right now.
You showed up. Good for you. I got to drink more water before I do this. Ryan, we can turn this thing off. Thank you.